Assembly Schools, and it is my great pleasure to welcome you to Houston County this afternoon. I'm pleased to be part of this seventh ceremony to induct Houston County's most outstanding educators into our Teacher Hall of Fame. Our Board of Education created this program to have a special way to honor our teachers. Teachers have one of the most important and responsible jobs in the world. They truly make a difference in the lives of the children entrusted to their care. Today we will honor 5 extraordinary teachers who are our 47th through 51st inductees. To be inducted into the Hall of Fame is a very high honor indeed. The honorees were selected after evaluating their years of service and nomination letters from students, colleagues, and others who know firsthand the long-term significance of these educators. The teachers on the stage today are immortalized by the successes of their students. They are loved, respected, and remembered by their students. They upheld exemplary standards, exhibited leadership, and were enthusiastic about teaching and learning. They also worked well with their colleagues and administrators and consistently sought to encourage, inspire, and motivate students toward greater accomplishments. You will hear more about each individual during today's program. Mr. Herman Reagan will give our inspiration. He's a member of the Perry Training School class of 1945, the first principal of Kings Chapel Elementary School, and a member of the Hall of Fame committee. Mr. Reagan.
I would like to say to you that, number one, the inspirational, maybe seem a little different this time, but my point is to honor the teachers that we have selected this year for Teachers Hall of Fame. These teachers have an incredible gift of connecting with students. They teach more than language arts, math, and science. They are loving parents, loving strict parents. They are friends and are always approachable. This program is designed to give us the opportunity to recognize our appreciation for 5, not just good, but outstanding teachers here in the Houston County Public Schools. Their extraordinary teaching helps students to grow academically, physically, morally, and socially. In honor of the inductees, I would like to read a poem by Ronald Reagan. You are the molders of that dream. The gods who build or crush their young beliefs of right and wrong. You are the spark that set aflame the poet's hand, or light the flame of some great singer's song. You are the God of the young, the very young. You are the guardian of million dreams. Your every smile of frown can heal or crush their hearts. You are 100 lives, 1,000 lives. You are the pride of loving them and the sorrow too when they fail. Your patient work, your touch, makes you the gold of hope, who fill their soul's dreams to make those dreams come true. Inductees, we are thankful to God for the many years of dedication you have given so many students. You are deserving of the honor of being chosen to Houston County Teachers Hall of Fame. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Reagan. I'm sure that the inductees today have inspired a lot of dreams and goals for the students that they've touched. Ms. Kelsey Hollis is one of our students who volunteered to provide uplifting music for today's program. A sophomore at Houston County High, Kelsey is in the honors program and a member of the JV cheerleading squad, chorus, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and Partners Club. She has won state vocal competitions and is the 2014 Miss Houston County High School and reigning Miss Warner Robins Outstanding Teen. This June, she will compete for the title of Miss Georgia's Outstanding Teen. Please rise for our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Kelsey. We are blessed with many talented students. This young lady is a fine example of the very talented youth we have in our schools. Kelsey, we appreciate your contribution to this special event, especially during the weekend. I want to thank each and every one of you for attending today, and I have a few guests that I'd like to introduce. I would like to begin by honoring past inductees of our Teacher Hall of Fame. You will see a list of our Hall of Famers toward the back of your program, as well as in the slideshow. If you were inducted to our Hall of Fame in the past, would you please stand and be recognized? From 2013, Ms. Linda Ferrone. Also from 2013, Ms. Mary Ann Gore. Also from 2013, Ms. Pam Stanescu, and Mrs. Stanescu is in the back, but she is one of our speakers today. 2012 inductee, Donna Hagarilla. 2012 inductee, Sherry Hennett. 2012 inductee, Jeannie McDonald. 2012 inductee, Carolyn Stonehouse. and 2009 inductee, Ms. Leon Cochran. Now I'd like for the families of all of our 2015 honorees to please stand and be recognized. All the family members for today's inductee. If we have former or current principals or other administrators who are present today, please stand. And also those people who get the job done, any current or former teachers, please stand. Any current or former teachers. We also have Representative Pete Clark here with us today. Thank you for being here. We also have Warner Robins Mayor Randy Toms. Let's see. Do we have any other elected officials other than our board? Am I missing anyone? Okay, let me introduce you to our Board of Education members. Our chair, Dr. Mary Ann Melnick. Our vice chair, Mr. Fred Wilson. And board member, Dr. Rick Unruh. Did you miss anybody? Okay. We'd also like to recognize any sponsors. We have Parish Construction as one of our sponsors. Is Mr. Rodney Johnson here? Do not see him. And thank you to Parish Construction for their donation to make this event possible. We also have our 2015 Georgia Teacher of the Year, who is also Houston County's 2014 Teacher of the Year, Ms. Amanda Milner. Now we'll ask Kelsey to come back up and sing the song for us and contribute to our honorees.
There's a hero. If you look into your heart, you don't have to be afraid of what you are. There's an answer. If you reach into your soul, all the sorrow that you know will melt away. And then a hero comes along with the strength to carry on, and you pass your fears aside, and you know you can survive. So when you feel like hope is gone, look inside you and be strong, and you'll finally see the truth that a hero lies in you. It's a long road when you face the world alone. No one reaches out a hand for you to hold. You can find love if you search within yourself. All the hurt will disappear. And then a hero comes along with the strength to carry on, strings are hard to follow, but don't let anyone tell them away. Hold on, there will be tomorrow. In time, you'll find a way. And then a hero comes along with the strength to carry on. And you pass your fears aside, and you know you can survive. So when you feel like hope is gone, look inside you and be strong. And you'll finally see the truth, that a hero lies in you. That a hero lies in you. That a hero lies in you.
Thank you again, Kelsey. We wish you the best as you compete for Miss Georgia's outstanding team. At this time, I'm honored to introduce our keynote speaker. Ms. Pamela Stanescu teaches at Warner Robins High School, where she has spent her entire 45-year career and has taught almost all of the English and history courses offered. Her love of school, reading, and history began while a student at Perry Grammar School. A master teacher who adores her students and her life's work. She is loving, compassionate, and an awesome storyteller who sometimes sings to her students. This all while providing rigorous coursework and challenging assignments that make them stretch farther than they ever dreamed possible. Ms. Stanescu's personal belief is that she has a moral obligation to make a difference in the lives of her students. She knows that she can change the world from her classroom, and she does it every day. Part of the team that began the Gifted program, she was also the first to teach AP U.S. History and AP European History in our system. Her awards are too many to list, but include Houston County Teacher of the Year, Georgia Gifted Teacher of the Year, Star Teacher 6 times, and 2013 Hall of Fame member. Although officially retired in 2008 after 36 years, she returned part-time and continues to work today. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Stanescu to the podium.
This is a wonderful day. It was August 1969, my first year teaching. I had long, straight hair halfway down my back, as far as I could grow it. My skirts were no longer than my fingertips. Indeed, if they were any longer than that, we called them granny skirts. And when I would reach my hand up to write on the board, and that would be chalkboards, dry erase boards had not yet been invented, I would have to use my left hand to hold my skirt down so I wouldn't show my altogether. To complete my ensemble, I wore white vinyl boots with tassels that swayed as I walked. And I was completely convinced I was dressed professionally. I couldn't understand why the principal kept confusing me with the students. I was also convinced that I could change the world from my classroom. Well, 45 years have passed. There have been a few changes. My hair is shorter. My skirts, thank goodness, are longer. And my white vinyl boots with tassels, alas, have been replaced by sensible flats. And it's been, I don't know, at least a couple of months since the principal has confused me with the students. Actually, my current principal affectionately refers to me as Mama. But one thing has not changed. I am absolutely convinced that teachers can change the world from their classrooms. And I know these women we honor here today have absolutely done so. It's difficult to define great teaching. Trying to do so is a great deal like Supreme Court Justice William Potter's famous comment about pornography. He said, "I can't define it, but I know it when I see it." Great teaching is not defined by specific technique or teaching style or classroom management. Take the great teachers on our stage today. I know all of them, and I assure you, none of them teach alike. Take Cyrilla Sight, for example. Her strongest modality is auditory. She's a taught teacher and a master of it. How many times have I marveled as I watched her teach her English literature students? She begins by pulling a student desk around and sitting facing her students, but in and among them, for this is not going to be a dry lecture. Ooh, far from it. And then she begins conversing with her students about the play, the poem, the short story or novel that they're currently studying. And as she converses, she deftly elicits responses from her students and weaves them into the conversation. Every student in her class knows that in this Sights class, you will participate. And so, of course, they do. And thus the conversation becomes a dialogue of teacher and student. And the question she poses in this dialogue calls the students to think more deeply, comprehend more profoundly, and articulate more clearly about the work they're studying. Cyrilla also possesses considerable dramatic skills. And so she frequently reads a significant passage or scene or poem out loud. And the response of her students is always, "Now I get it." She weaves such a web of magic in her classroom that when the bell rings, the students go, "Is that the bell? Have we been here that long?" What a wonderful method she has mastered of using words to develop students' use of words to analyze words. In Sheila Keener's class, students march to the beat of a different drummer. For Sheila Keener, teaching is doing. For she is that rare quality in the classroom, a kinesthetic, tactile teacher. I had never seen Sheila teach that she was not up, moving around, moving in and about her students, gesturing with her hands, touching and pointing to things in the classroom as examples, acting out a concept, and frequently pulling up a student to demonstrate it with her. In Sheila's class, students learn by doing, and they show that they have learned by doing. The creativity she exhibits in the activities and projects that she plans for her students is impressive. And her style has a tremendous impact on her students. For Sheila has a rare gift of motivating the unmotivated student, of engaging the disaffected learner, the one who has turned off from English and from school altogether. Whenever I hear students talking about Sheila Keener's class, invariably I'll hear the refrain, "Miss Keener's class is fun. She makes learning fun." What a tremendous gift to restore the joy of learning back to students. For Gloria Combs students, truly seeing is believing. For Gloria Combs' strongest modality is visual, and what a perfect modality for a history teacher. When Gloria teaches, she talks and shows, talks and shows. I've never seen Gloria teach when she was not constantly showing examples to make the concept visual to the students. From maps, to timelines, to charts, to historic events, videos and pictures of historic people, she promotes a powerful connection between her students and the history they are studying. For every event in history, she gives them an image with which to connect. And as she expertly builds this bond between students and history, her students become totally engaged as they literally see history develop before their eyes. For Barbara Asbell, her strongest teaching modality is, well, all three. As a versatile and expert elementary teacher, she knows that for elementary students you have to talk it, chalk it, walk it. Elementary students learn better when all their modalities are engaged. So for every concept she shows, she teaches, and she has students do. And her students learn. Knowing that time on task is essential, in her classroom, students are engaged in learning in multiple ways all school day long. Their classroom management skills are phenomenal. She can have students at 5 or 6 learning centers be conducting a reading circle and know every single thing that's going on in her classroom, and every child is on task. And they're happy. Happy children learn better. And Barbara's students love her. Truly, she teaches the whole child every day. No, great teaching is not defined by a specific technique or style. When beginning teachers ask me, what is the best teaching style, I always reply, the one that works. So what is it that makes a teacher great? Why do we feel such a physical awareness of greatness when we walk in their classrooms? Like Emily Dickinson, we feel physically as if the top of our head were taken off. What do all 5 great teachers we're honoring today have in common? Vision. Great teachers are visionaries. They teach by divine right. They believe they are called by divine authority to teach. They would agree with author Catherine Ann Porter, I didn't choose this profession, it chose me. But for this profession I am willing to live and to die. They have a vision of themselves as teachers that they strive to achieve their entire life. They have a vision of the classroom and learning that they try to achieve every single day. But most of all, they have a vision for every student that walks in their classroom. A vision of the greatness within that child. And they're absolutely dedicated to making that vision a reality. Their greatness lies in their ability to communicate that vision to their students. And what they communicate, to paraphrase from the Hill, to every student is the belief that I am kind, I am smart, I am important, and I can do great things. Their belief in their students is absolute. In a great teacher's classroom, students feel completely accepted and totally challenged. Every day they are challenged to achieve things they never thought they were capable of achieving and would never have thought of attempting on their own. But cushioned in the total support of their teacher, they are willing to take the risk. They believe they can because their teacher believes they can, and they trust their teacher. When students begin to believe that I am kind, I am smart, I am important, and I can do great things, it is life transformational. That's what great teachers do. They transform lives. That is why when we stand in a great teacher's classroom, we feel like the top of our head is coming off. Because for that moment, we are caught in that vision too. And we believe that we, even we can be kind. We are smart. We are important. And we can achieve great things. And in that moment of affirmation, we are transformed. And then we know what makes great teachers great. They teach from their soul. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Baniscu. Good afternoon. My name is Beth McLaughlin. It is my great pleasure to serve on the Teacher Hall of Fame Committee. I'd like to introduce our fellow committee members. Please stand. We have Dr. Robin Hines, former superintendent. Mr. Danny Carpenter, former superintendent. Mr. David Carpenter, also former superintendent. Mr. Reagan, you met earlier. Thank you, Mr. Reagan. Mr. Thomas Booth Hunt. Mr. Hunt's Superior High graduate, class of 1959. And Ms. Linda Horn, former assistant superintendent. Thank you very much. All right, what we've been waiting for all day. I'm excited to have the pleasure of introducing each of our honorees and to celebrate 5 extraordinary women. We've been looking forward to this day, and we are pleased to recognize them for their contributions to all the students that they've taught in the past and our system overall. These Hall of Fame members have an amazing history. They are rich in accomplishments and lives that they have positively influenced. All total, they have 164 years in the classroom combined. As we introduce each honoree, we will show their videotape biography. Afterward, I'll share comments from the letters that were submitted on their behalf of the Teacher Hall of Fame. And we had a lot of letters submitted, and it was difficult to choose just a few quotes. You also have some in your program as well. Our first honoree is Mrs. Barbara Asbell. We're going to say Barbara Tucker Asbell. Mrs. Asbell taught at several of our elementary schools in Warner Robins before retiring in 1995 with 31 years in the classroom. Let's watch her video.
Hello, my name is Barbara Asbell, and I'm a retired teacher. I've taught for 31 years, and more than half of those years were here in this county. I knew early on that I wanted to be a teacher. I guess preschool, maybe 4 or 5 years old. I was born in 1935, and so in the 40s, of course, World War II was going on. And there was a lady next door to our home who had 4 extra bedrooms. She is a big 2-story house, and all her children were grown and gone. And so she rented out those 4 upstairs bedrooms to 4 teachers who taught at the school just about a block from us. My mother rented them, and they would come over to our house because one was always making cookies and little good tidbits and so forth. And I got to know them, and how they're so nice and they're so pretty. They dress up so nicely. And they would be telling Mother about some of their students. I want to be a teacher. So I just grew up with that in mind. Teaching just prevailed strongly. And I went to East Carolina University. I taught first, when we moved here from Atlanta, I was a Taylor. Now at that time, Taylor was not just a junior high or middle school. It was grades 1 through 8. And that was nice. I taught 3rd grade because that was where I wanted to start. Taylor first and Watson. Then I went to Parkwood and Sherwood Hill, of course. So I taught in different schools here and had good relationship with all the principals. And in all, when I moved to other states and cities, I had, I taught under 9 different but I always look back on what a good person was. Well, I have always loved teaching, and I would still be teaching probably, except my husband and I had always said, when we retire, we want to travel and see the new countries. So when I retired in 95, I said, now, let's start our traveling next summer. So we did, and for the next 7 or 8 years, we took it.
In addition to her passion for education, Mrs. Asbell has a passion for music and for helping her community. Besides contributing to her classroom, she has been involved in many organizations such as the American Association for University Women, Beta Sigma Phi, Houston Speech and Hearing School, International City Fine Arts Council, the Museum of Aviation, and many more. Her numerous honors and awards include National Women's History Museum, Teacher of the Year, and Outstanding Civic Leader. We received several letters of support for Mrs. Asbell. Retired educator Mrs. Patsy Hutto wrote about her children's experience in Mrs. Asbell's classroom, saying, "Walking into her classroom was always like walking into a bright, beautiful sunshine day. Her smile lit up that classroom, and it still lights up any room she enters. I'm grateful for that year when they walked into a classroom full of sunshine and love, tended by an excellent professional woman whose life was dedicated to helping and watching children learn and grow. I'm grateful for all the years Mrs. Asbell spent giving of herself and all the multitude of children whose lives she has touched." Another parent and educator, Mrs. Susan Murchison, wrote, "Mrs. Asbell's bubbly enthusiasm, her love for music, and most importantly, her devotion to all students became the encouragement for students, including my daughter, to showcase their talents in music, dance, and art in talent shows and other musical performances." She added, "I am so privileged to call her a colleague, a two-generation role model in my family, and a friend. Those preciously honored are people of great character, loving commitment to student achievement, and a legacy of hard work and dedication to one of the best educational systems in the state. This is Barbara Asbell."
We have a plaque here, and I will not read it every time, but I just wanted to read the first one so you know what the plaque says. It says, Houston County Teacher Hall of Fame, honoring Barbara T. Asbell, inducted April 19, 2015, for extraordinary teaching and dedicated service to the Houston County Board of Education and the children of Houston County. No task is as important as educating the leaders of tomorrow. Congratulations.
This is such an honor for something that I love dearly. I knew when I was quite young that I wanted to be a teacher. I always loved reading and learning, and I thought it was a fascinating way to spend the one life that we have here on earth. I have never regretted that decision, and I have met some of the most wonderful people. The parents have been just great. They knew that I loved my students and their children. It's just great. I have taught, well, in 2 states, and then in about 9 or 10 different schools. But Houston County is special. We settle here because we love it here. But I really am an education believer. And I don't know if we have any future teachers sitting in here, but do it and you'll love it. And you know you're doing something good and interesting. And you learn as you teach as well. I have enjoyed seeing our audience today because I'm seeing some of you that I haven't seen in a long time. And you've meant so much to this area. The first year I taught in Houston County, Leon Tompkins was also he was a coach as well as teaching in the classroom. And I remember one of my little third graders, of course playing third grade football, jammed his thumb. I didn't know what to do, but I knew who to take the child to. Leon, of course, being a coach, knew exactly what, and after all these years, Leon, I thank you for what you've done. The Campbell family has been special in my life of school, too. There's so many of you. My own family is here, thank goodness. We have one daughter, Elaine Tigner, who is a teacher at Northside. And she's a good teacher, too. Her husband, John Tigner, is here. He's not a native of Georgia. He was from Florida and Texas. But he has made a very good Georgian. My husband, Max Aswell, and of course, Elaine. Raise your hand, Elaine, so don't be wrong. Most of the audience knows you anyway. And my dear and perfect grandchildren, who are grown up now. John Jr., he is a student in college now, and his sister, who is our firstborn grandchild, is Jay. And she is waiting to go to med school. I'm very proud of my family. I'm so glad everybody's here today. And hello to you that I haven't spoken to yet, because now I see who's here, and it's wonderful to have you. Thanks for everything.
Congratulations, Mrs. Aswell. Mrs. Gloria Mims Combs is our next honoree. Mrs. Combs is a 41-year veteran teacher at Northside High School. After retiring in 2007, she returned part-time. We are fortunate that she continues to make a difference every day in the classroom, and here is her video.
Hello, my name is Gloria Combs. I'm in the midst of my 41st year of teaching. I've always lived in Macon, Georgia. I attended McEvoy High for girls. I graduated in 1971, so I then it had become Southwest High School. I was the first year at Southwest High in the midst of integration. And then I attended West Georgia College in Carrollton for 3 years. I graduated 3 years with a degree in history, sociology, and I had secondary education. And I graduated in August of 74, got a phone call from Mr. Arthur, come interview for a job at Northside High. So I graduated Sunday in August and started working at Northside the next week. I was a teacher of sociology all day, so I was very fortunate that I had the sociology degree. And I've been at Northside now my entire career for 41 years. I retired after 33 years, and now I work half day, which is a joy. I love working half day. Teaching in Kelsey County has been a great experience, especially with my principals. I am so thankful that I work with Mel, which everyone loves Mr. Arthur. My first year teacher, I had his daughter in class. Imagine how nervous I was to be a first year teacher. And Nancy being in my class. And I was single, 21 years of age. And I was getting married that summer, and she played the guitar for my wedding. So I remember Nancy forever. And I get to run into Mr. Arthur and Sarah Bob, and it's just such a joy to see them. And what a great experience to work under, I just love being able to supervise student teachers. I learned as much from them. I hope they gained something from me, but I definitely learned a lot from them. They always will bring in new and exciting ideas, innovative ways, and I will get to adapt them to my classroom as well.
Mrs. Combs not only teaches, she also volunteers extensively for extracurricular activities. She has sponsored the Majorettes, Future Teachers of America, the Yearbook, and various field trips. She was the Social Studies Department Chair from 1991 until 2003. Her students have won numerous awards in history, such as winning first place 3 times at the Jimmy Carter Academic Bowl. When her 2 sons, Tyler and Brett, were young, she was also active in the PTA, Booster Club, and even their Boy Scouts Den leader for 2 years. She was awarded Parent of the Year by Rutland High School, where her sons attended school. Mrs. Combs mentioned how much she enjoyed supervising student teachers and new teachers. These new teachers and our system benefited greatly from her mentorship because 8 of them now teach in our schools. Several of these teachers wrote letters of support for Mrs. Combs for the Hall of Fame. Northside High School teacher Mrs. Kim Stewart wrote, "As Gloria's student teacher, I saw firsthand her dedication to her profession. This included hours of study each night, exemplary lesson plans that were meticulously carried out, and a determination to see all of her students succeed." Mrs. Brett Calloway, another student teacher also hired at Northside High, who now serves as a media specialist, wrote, "As a colleague, she took such good care of me, still wanting me to succeed as a teacher. She gave me advice, resources, materials, and encouragement that I would have been lost without that first year. I can never thank Gloria enough for the encouragement that she gave me and the confidence that she instilled in me as a teacher. She helped my dream of becoming a successful educator come true. Gloria is a remarkable example of excellence in education who has profoundly impacted both students and colleagues." Congratulations, Mrs. Combs.
Well, I'm not used to a microphone. I talk for an hour constantly, but without a microphone. I do want to thank everyone who came today. I want to thank my family, my husband, my oldest son, Tyler, and my youngest son, Brett, and his new wife, Ivy. They will celebrate their first anniversary the same day we celebrate our 40th anniversary this summer. So that's been exciting for us. I want to thank my sister-in-law, Melba, for being here. I have a whole row of my Sunday school class. They've had the misfortune, they hear my history lessons also. I have a wonderful Sunday school class, so thank you for those opportunities. I want to thank the Houston County Board of Education, especially the administrators, several of the superintendents who've also been my principals, who've always shown me support. Dr. Unruh, I was able to work with him as a peer, and you could not find a better board member, so thank you, Dr. Unruh. I also want to thank Kim Stewart for nominating me. She was my student teacher, and then later we taught, I think, about 25 years together. I have several of my dear friends who are retired now, some who still work, Donna and I still work together. But my retired friends that are here, thank you so much for all the support you've given me. And Pam, even though I didn't teach with you, Pam is the best of the best. A teacher's teacher. And the last comment you made, where we teach from our soul, I truly believe that. I do. The Lord has blessed me with a passion. And I'm not sure my students love it every day, but I know I do. And I also want to thank my current Northside peers that are here. Thank you for your support. And I have 2 former students who are here. One flew in from Dallas, Camille, thank you. And Sarah, who traveled from Albany, who's serving as an attorney down in Albany. Thank you for coming. It means the world to me that you came. I love Houston County. Jan, thank you for all your support. When I entered gifted education, I wish I had entered earlier, but I have thoroughly enjoyed it. Sonia, a former student of mine, thank you. I see so many faces. I just want to say thank you. Patricia, Patsy, she and I talked together for, I was so upset when she left Northside, and look what she was able to do once she left Northside and Lasagna. I saw you over there. My heart is just overflowing. I have so many fond memories. Thank many of you. Jenny, she and I worked together. I can't mention everyone, but thank you so much for all who came in support. I hope I get a few more years teaching, so thank you all. And I know that many of you deserve to be up here next year and the next year, so thank you again.
We have on stage a chair in memory of Mrs. Dorothy Collier Hardy, who passed away on January 5th, 2001. Mrs. Hardy taught in our Perry schools for 21 years. She raised 4 sons, and one of her sons is on stage representing the family today. Another son, Judge Jim Hardy, will tell you her remarkable story.
My mother was born in 1918 in Oglethorpe County, Georgia. She grew up on a farm with her father and mother, and she had 3 sisters. They had a brother that died of great influenza in 1918. My grandmother, my mother's mother, she graduated from Shorter College in about 1908, and my granddaddy went to the University of Georgia. So their education has always been very important in my mother's family. Her father and mother used to drive her to school on muddy old roads at Tacoma High School, where she went to school. All of her sisters graduated from the University of Georgia, but she went to college in Douglasville. I do not know why she chose to go down there to Georgia. GSCW is what it used to be called, Georgia State College for Women. She started school when she was 15. She graduated from high school at Alabama when she was 15 years old. Went down to GSCW. She did some summertime studying at the University of Georgia because it's close to home, because they live within a matter of 10 miles of Athens. Anyway, she graduated from college when she was 19 years old in June. That fall, she got a job teaching 6th grade in Vina, Georgia. She taught school in Vina, Georgia, 6th grade for 3 years. Then at the age of 22, she got married. And when she got married, she moved to Perry because of my daddy Alvin Hardy lived in Perry, Georgia. Then, when my oldest brother graduated from high school in 1959, she went to Mercer University that summer to get her credit so she could start teaching school. She loved teaching school. So she started teaching school in 6th grade here in Perry, Georgia, a building across the street from where we are now, the old Perry Elementary School. So, actually went to school there myself. Then when she started teaching school, and she loved teaching school. And one of her, she taught English and English composition, and she taught also a lady, Mrs. Horn, from Pioneer. She came up and taught math a little bit later on. She loved teaching school. She used to love to have a plain English handbook. He was a stickler for grammar. My brother tells me when she came to school the first day, she said, "My name is Doc Hardy, but you'll soon learn to know that my middle name is Grammar."
There was an outpouring of letters of support and love for Mrs. Hardy, especially from her former students. Her legacy includes teaching a future governor of Georgia, George Busby, future famous journalist Deborah Roberts, and hundreds of other students who went on to do all kinds of marvelous things and becoming doctors, lawyers, teachers, etc. An excerpt from a book titled How Jane Won, about successful women, quotes Deborah Roberts, who also wrote a letter in favor of Mrs. Hardy's selection for this Hall of Fame. Mrs. Roberts said, "My 7th grade English teacher was Mrs. Hardy. She wore red nail polish and red lipstick, had gray and white hair, her clothes were always right, and she was the prim image of a teacher. Her expectations were very high. Everyone was terrified of her, but I always wanted to please her. She introduced me to poetry, to speaking grammatically, and to striving to do more. I felt so accomplished, empowered, and strong coming out of her class. She was responsible for my speaking abilities and my yearning to want to be the best." Another former student, Susie O'Neill, stated, "My most important teacher through my grammar and high school years was Mrs. Doc Hardy. I remember her standing erect each day in our classroom in her belted dress and heels and not a hair out of place. She was stern in a positive, all-business kind of way, and she spoke in measured syllables that were very meticulous and exact. She taught us English and poetry. We studied our grammar from a thin red book with a silver image of Shakespeare on the front. We read and memorized poetry from 101 Famous Poems, a thin green book that sits on my bedside table today. The bindings on both books became threadbare during that year." Retired educator Charlie Walker wrote, "For most of us, there is that one teacher who stands out above all the rest. For me, that teacher was Doc Hardy. She impacted my life and shaped my destiny more than any single individual in the school system. When I became a teacher, my goal was always to be a teacher like Mrs. Hardy. I loved her very much, and she was my greatest model of what I thought a teacher should be. Her youngest son, Charles Hardy, will speak on behalf of her family. Mr. Hardy and other Mr. Hardy, Judge Hardy, please come forward.
This is a homecoming of sorts. My mother actually taught in this building for quite a bit, and all three of my brothers and myself went to school in this building. So I just wanted to make quick introductions. This is my brother Sid Hardy from Dublin, Georgia. My brother Jim Hardy from Thomasville, Georgia. This is my nephew Lance Hardy, representing my brother who's deceased, Alvin Hardy, who's our oldest brother from Macon, Georgia. And I'm Charles Hardy. On behalf of my mother, Dorothy Collier Hardy, it is a privilege and an honor for you for her induction into the Houston County Teacher Hall of Fame. Our family wishes to thank Dr. Mark Scott, Houston County Superintendent of Schools, members of the Houston County Board of Education, and members of the Teacher Hall of Fame Selection Committee. Also, thank you to Beth McLaughlin and her staff for all their gracious assistance. Lastly, thank you to those who wrote letters of recommendation for our mother, and to those, in particular Barbara Langston and my cousin Sally Hardy Culver, who pushed her nomination and made sure it came to fruition. A big part of education, I guess, is repetition, so some of the things that have already been said, I have prepared remarks that you're going to hear again, so we'll drive those points home. First and foremost, Doc Hardy held a deep understanding and love of English language and a respect for its proper usage. She also stressed the power of language and literature. But she was about so much more. She was an early positive influence on so many children who came through Perry Elementary School. Her legacy lives on through many, many generations. She was the strongest, most positive face of education one could ever hope to see. The second daughter of Ralph and Woody Collier, Dorothy Hardy led a life of tradition with her values rooted in the small North Georgia rural community of Comer, which is northeast of Athens. Her mother was a proper Victorian woman in behavior and appearance who attended Shorter College in Rome, Georgia, as my brother Jim said, and graduated in 1908. My grandparents strongly encouraged education. All four of their daughters, all four of them were college graduates, an amazing fact in the rural South in the 1930s. Doc Hardy emphasized poetry to her students. Her classroom Bible, as said in one of the letters, was a small book, 101 Famous Poems. She had favorites in that book. If by Rudyard Kipling, Keep A Going by Frank Stanton, who was the first poet laureate of Georgia. But her favorite poet, was alluded to in the speech earlier, was Emily Dickinson, who wrote the famous Hope is a Thing with Feathers. To emphasize the power of language and poetry, my mother would have her students line up outside her classroom door each morning before first period bell and recite a poem that they had memorized. She also emphasized the arts beyond literature, music and painting in particular. In addition, she prepared her students for life after school. She would have them complete reports on various careers and professions, all the while emphasizing correct writing techniques and proper usage of language. One of my students, whose letter you heard earlier, Mr. Charles Walker, went on to become a teacher in Houston County school system. Wrote this about my mother, and I loved it so much I wanted to share it with you. It's in a different voice. Mrs. Hardy greatly challenged her 6th grade students, making us memorize poetry, do writings that challenged us to dream big dreams, and taking us on incredible field trips to visit the homes of older outstanding parents who lived in the neighborhood of Perry Elementary around the school. She forged in us a sense of history and community, promoting good citizenship and inspiring us to be better than we were. She sometimes pushed me beyond what I thought I was capable of, but she did it with such kindness and love that I wanted to please her, and I always did my best. She was such a consummate classroom manager that she never had to raise her voice. She used strategies that spoke to the different learning styles and to different ability levels of everyone in the class. She taught us to respect authority, but to value each other. Every one of her students felt special and felt loved. No one wanted to disappoint her. Charles Walker, thank you for these kind and heartfelt memories. My mother would be so proud of her former students as they matured into good citizens, loving parents, and excellent role models. Hopefully some of her former students have passed on my mother's love of literature, poetry, proper grammar, and civility to their families and to fellow humankind. Dorothy Collier Hardy believed in the power of public education to transform lives. She stayed in the public school system until her retirement. The honor you have bestowed upon her today justifies that decision and all of her ahead-of-time education techniques. She would be so proud of this honor, and her entire family, 24 of us who are here today, come from all over the Southeast. Thank you for this recognition. Thank you.
Our next honoree is Mrs. Sheila Wade Keener. Mrs. Keener taught at Warner Robins High School, her alma mater, for 37 years. She retired in 2003, but returned part-time for 7 more years. Let's watch her video.
Hello, my name is Sheila Wade Keener, and I have been a teacher in Houston County School Systems for 37 years. For me, it is a particular honor to be inducted into the Teacher Hall of Fame because I am a product of the Houston County Schools. I went to Watson Elementary, I went to Rumble Junior High, and later graduated from Warner Robins High School. I was privileged to be taught by some of the finest teachers in Houston County, and each one of them had an impact on me, the way I would teach and what I would teach. After I graduated from Warner Robins High School and entered Tift College at Forsyth, Georgia, there was no doubt that I would be an English teacher. I had always loved to read, and I loved people. So I graduated from there with my master's, with my Bachelor of Arts in English education. Later I received a master's degree from Georgia College, and also I became certified in gifted education as well as AP education. When I graduated from Tift, I was hired by the man who had been my former principal at Warner Robins High School, Mr. Joseph Williamson. He hired me to teach summer school. Talk about baptism by fire. He rewarded me later on that summer by hiring me to teach full-time at my alma mater, Warner Robins High School. And there is where I remained for all but one of the 37 years that I taught. I am married to Steve Keener. We have one child, and his wife gave us our 2 precious grandchildren that we absolutely adore, and they bring joy to our lives every single day that they are with us. The majority of our time is spent with them now. Steve and I were very active at Central Baptist Church, our home church, where we taught a Sunday school class for young couples. I taught ladies' Bible studies until he left his job to go into full-time ministry as a preacher. Today, I still enjoy reading. I enjoy working with people. I enjoy teaching. I volunteer at my grandchildren's schools. You just can't get rid of teachers. They love to be back in education or educating people in some way. And it seems that there are so many moments every day to teach, and that is really the joy of it all.
Mrs. Keener loved her work in the classroom, and she also loved getting to know students through their extracurricular activities. She sponsored the senior class, pep club, anchor, varsity cheerleaders, creative writers guild, and more. And she did all this while serving as chair of the English department and other duties such as overseeing SACs for her department. Adjectives used to describe her include nurturer, leader, motivator, mentor, outgoing, and favorite teacher. People say she could transform D students into A students. She was also known as a compassionate teacher who assisted students in need by providing clothing, school supplies, and money for food. She had numerous letters of support for the Hall of Fame. Chuck Shaheen, a former student and former Mayor of Warner Robins, commented, "Mrs. Keener impacted my life to be a better person. She expected perfection, but understood that each student starts at a different level of understanding. Nevertheless, she had a unique way of challenging you to strive for perfection and success, not just in the classroom, but in life." And former student Marvin James, now at 13 WMAZ, wrote, "I was a military brat moving into the international city in the midst of my high school career. But having a teacher like Mrs. Keener made my transition seem seamless. I don't remember the curriculum that was taught, but I do remember her unconditional and unwavering support." Mrs. April Chu, now a teacher, nominated Mrs. Keener for the Hall of Fame, and she stated, "Sheila was a very popular teacher when I attended Warner Robins High in the late 70s. She made her lessons come alive, and she obviously loved her subject matter, but we knew she loved her students too." And lastly, a student from 1998, Mrs. Carrie Holly Rhodes. "Mrs. Keener has true charisma and a real passion for literature. She clearly saw this not as a job, but as a calling, her life's mission. Her enthusiasm was contagious," and she added, "Mrs. Keener started to see something in me, and in turn, I began to see something in myself. When she was proud of me, I felt like I had succeeded. Her class changed my life." Congratulations, Mrs. Keener.
Give me a microphone, see what she'll do. First of all, I want to thank the committee for choosing me to be up here among such lovely ladies and such awe-inspiring women. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you also to April, too, who called me and said, "Sheila, I want to nominate you for the Hall of Fame." And I started laughing. I said, "April, honey, let me tell you that I really appreciate that. But the teachers that usually get that were the star teachers, and I don't think I'm really qualified for that. You want to, back a dark horse, I'll ride with you." And so we rode, and here we are. And I thought, it must be those letters they wrote. They must have read those letters and thought to themselves, "Can we just see this person in real life?" For whatever reason it is. Thank you. I knew truly from the time I was 5 years old that I was called to be a teacher. My mother bought me a little desk like you would see in schools, and every day she would give me my assignments. I would write my letters, and we would do my numbers, and we would read, and then she would grade things and give them back to me. And thus she became my first teacher, and by far my best teacher. I'm totally indebted to my mother for inspiring me and realizing that, that I could do this because she is my greatest supporter. I also, at Warner Robins High School, amazing time there. I looked out a minute ago and I saw Mr. Hennett there, and I thought, God bless that man, he lived through me. I'm so glad to see him here. He's still singing there. But he was such a wonderful supporter of the things and the ideas that I had. I can remember us sitting there talking, sometimes him looking across his desk at me and just shaking his head. 37 years has been an amazing adventure. I believe that truly, as the Bible says, those who the Lord calls, you will equip. And truly, I have been equipped by some of Houston County's finest. They all impacted my life and influenced me to become the teacher that I was. Every day was an adventure. And I thank God every day that not only did he call me and equip me, but that he did bring into my life some of the most wonderful people that I have ever met. I did not think that maybe at the time. I thought I would truly was teaching when I would look up and somebody would scream and say, "Oh my gosh, I've got her contact stuck in my eye." And I thought, that's not in the lesson plan. I just, okay, we'll deal with this minute. We'll get back to what we were doing. Obviously, I was not doing what I thought I was doing, but whatever. Teaching is just been, like I said, the most amazing adventure of my life. I could not have asked for anything better, and I thank Jesus every day that He gave me the strength to do what He had called me to do, and I thank you.
Mrs. Sarita Sy, our final honoree, is another much-loved teacher. She retired from Warner Robins High School in 2003 and returned to teach part-time until 2007. For 34 years, she taught reading in English, which was her true calling. Here is her video.
Hi, I'm Sarita Sy. I'm a retired teacher of 34 years. But it was second grade that I had the teacher that impacted me most, Miss Burns. Miss Burns created the most loving atmosphere in her classroom. And I decided then, at the grand old age of 7, I was going to teach school. I was going to grow up and I was going to be Miss Burns. I majored in English and minored in elementary education, which became a huge bonus for me in my career. I met my husband there. We married after my sophomore year in school, and that was a huge bonus for my entire life. He graduated and went ahead and was teaching in Houston County, and then I finished my last 2 years at Mercer, and I also came to Houston County and started a career. And we both had wonderful, rewarding, satisfying careers here in the Houston County schools. I began teaching in 1972 at Alberta Elementary School, and I taught second grade. And I had wonderful, wonderful mentor teachers there. That was probably the greatest thing for me as a new teacher, was having these wonderful, compassionate women who really guided me through the process of how to organize a classroom and how to run a classroom and these. Now, I taught there for 2 years because at the end of my second year, I was pregnant and my baby was not due until September. So I resigned and was looking forward to spending some time home with my little boy. But I only got to spend 6 weeks because I got a call from Mr. Musselwhite, who was the principal at Warner Robins Junior High. They were overflowing with students, and they needed an overflow teacher. So I spent 4 years at Warner Robins Junior High, and luckily for my students, only one of those was in science. So I spent the rest of my life teaching English, which is my passion, and teaching there. Then I had another baby, so I resigned again. And this time I got to stay home a whole year with my 2 little boys, and it was wonderful. I loved being a stay-at-home mom. But my husband came home from work one day, and he said that he was ready to get back into the classroom. He was working in the corporate side of America, and he just decided he was through with that. He wanted to go back into the classroom, and he was a wonderful teacher. He needed to be in the classroom. But the pay cut was significant enough that meant I had to go back to work. So I did, and this time I was called to teach at Warner Robins High School, and I found my home. It was wonderful. I spent the last 28 years of my teaching career at Warner Robins High School, and that's exactly where I should have been.
When talking with Mrs. Syke, the joy she experienced while teaching as a parent, she speaks with pride of her students and their accomplishments, describing the young people as fun, intelligent, creative, energetic, and amazing. They loved her right back. Her students and colleagues also describe her as energetic and amazing, as well as inspirational, beautiful spirit, and a legacy. In addition to her work in the classroom, she sponsored the school newspaper and literary magazine, turning them into award-winning publications. Many of her students pursued careers in journalism, becoming successful as a novelist, owner of a publishing company, sought after comic book artist, among others. Mrs. Syke won many teaching awards to include 5 Teacher of the Year awards for Warner Robins High in the district, plus Star Teacher 3 times, to include Houston County Star Teacher. From the many letters of support, admiration for her shone through, colleague Dr. Marianne Melnick wrote, Sarila was confident, dependable, and creative. She was not only a master of content, but a true advocate for student learning. She never compromised on what she expected from her students and compassionately pushed them to their full potential. Former student who became a teacher, Allison Swain, commented, "She is the epitome of a passionate, caring educator whose impact lasts long beyond a student's time in her classroom. During my own career as a teacher, I strove to be like Mrs. Syke, exhibiting a passion for my subject that I hoped would be contagious in my students. If I passed along a lifelong love of English to any of my students, as Mrs. Syke did to many of hers, I would consider my teaching career to have been a success." And co-worker Pam Stannis wrote, "Team teaching with Sarila totally revitalized me as a teacher. Rare was the day I did not learn something new as she taught. But more than that, teaching with Sarila was so much fun. Every day was an act of creation. It was marvelous and the consummate professional development. Watching her teach, there was never any doubt that I was in the presence of a master teacher." Congratulations, Mrs. Syke.
Well, this is a little bit like a combination of This Is Your Life and the Academy Awards. So let me do like those Academy people do and start by thanking people. I truly want to thank Beth and everybody that she involved in being able to pull this up together. I know that they have spent months doing this, and we, as the honorees, are so appreciative of everything that you all have done. I also want to thank Carol Calvert Van, who nominated me. She was planning to be here today. Her husband wound up in the hospital. You know, this husband in the hospital. Needless to say, she didn't make it today, but I truly appreciate her. She was a wonderful biology teacher her years in high school, a wonderful principal at Bon Air Elementary School, and more than that, she has known me for over 40 years. So she has known me from my first day at Alberta Elementary School through my final day at Warner Robins High School. So I truly appreciate Carol for nominating me. I also need to say thank you to my family who have traveled so far to be here. My sister and her husband came from Florida for this, and I'm so grateful for that. My sons managed to corral all their children, and their wives did a wonderful job getting everybody down here on this rainy day from Atlanta and North Georgia, and I so very much appreciate that. I also want to thank all the people I worked with. I think that I was surrounded by some of the most amazing people. Sheila and I taught down the hall from one another. We were like a door apart for so many years of our career together, and I was inspired by her all the time. She and I were constantly doing all of these things that our classroom couldn't contain it. So we had to take stuff up on the walls and the hallway, and I think B Hall was just a constant gallery for people to go by and see what we were up to, and I was inspired greatly by her. The last decade of my career, I taught in the same room with Pam Stanisky. So how blessed was I to learn every day from such a phenomenal teacher. And she and I enjoyed collaborating and working together, and when she was teaching her classes and I was preparing for mine, I couldn't help but learn a little bit about AP whatever she was doing, psychology or US or European. It was just absolutely an amazing time. The principals that managed to nurture me, put up with me, I can only thank them. Tony Hennett was principal while I was doing that stuff with that newspaper and literary magazine. Now you talk about a nervous Nellie. Because no matter what I put or let be put by my students in that paper, he was the one who was going to get the phone call about somebody that didn't like it. So I can only say thank you to him and Dr. Melnick and the other principals that I worked under who were so supportive, who trusted me and said, okay, you can do this. And it was just a wonderful creative blessing. Mostly, I want to thank all those students who sat in my classroom all of those years and their parents who entrusted them to me. I had the most amazing students every year. They were wonderful. And that's what enabled me to be able to be wonderful too. They were more than I ever expected they would be. I especially want to thank my two sons who had to share me with those 150 kids every single year. I was so proud of all that my kids, the students, accomplished, but I hope that they know that more than anything, they have been my greatest pride. And I'm most proud of the men that they have become. So thank you to everyone who came. This has been a remarkable thing. It is a true pleasure to have been able to fulfill my calling in such a wonderful, supportive environment. Thank you very much.
So congratulations to our 2015 Teacher Hall of Fame inductees. Let's give them another round of applause. Our goal each year is to make this ceremony as special as possible. Today's ceremony was web streamed live for family and friends who were unable to attend. Each honoree was presented with a plaque, keepsake program, bookmark, corsage, special name badge, a Hall of Fame lapel pin, and our system coin. They will also be provided a video of today's ceremony, and their photograph will hang on our Hall of Fame wall. A new and exciting gift this year is the addition of engraved bricks for each of our Hall of Fame members. Thanks to Cherokee Brick and Tile Company, we are able to offer this special and enduring gift. The bricks are already installed outside near the flagpole, which is to the left as you exit, so please take a look at those. And we have our former Hall of Fame members, your brick is there as well. On the back of your program is a list of sponsors. We could not hold special events such as this Teacher Hall of Fame without our premier sponsors, Parish Construction and HEA Federal Credit Union. They provide thousands of dollars to our system for events such as the Hall of Fame, retirement banquet, etc. And we are forever grateful for their support. In addition, several sponsors provided in-kind support. I've already mentioned Cherokee Brick, which provided bricks and a cash donation. Jostens provided beautiful Hall of Fame lapel pins, which were presented already, and we are very, very appreciative that Peyton Ziegler and Scott Jernigan provided this special gift. Classic Award and Trophy provided the name badges and assisted with the plaques. Daisy Patch provided the lovely corsages, and Perry High School loaned us these beautiful ferns. If you have the opportunity, please take a minute to thank these sponsors. In closing, many thanks to our Board of Education and Superintendent Dr. Mark Scott for their commitment to this Hall of Fame. And many thanks to our committee members who are sitting here to our left. We are greatly appreciative of the hours that they have devoted. I also want to thank again all of you in the audience who came out with this weather to honor these ladies on the stage. And last but not least, I would like to express my appreciation to Teresa Davis and Tabitha Clark, who are in my Department of Community Relations, for their assistance in getting ready for today's event. This concludes our program. Please join us to fellowship during the reception and celebrate the contributions of these extraordinary teachers.